All right, Izzy. How's it going?
I had my coffees today. I'm humming along. Nothing much though. Excited to be in the space. I left the Tesla talk immediately at 2 p.m. sharp.
Smart. Um, yeah, we're at $200 per share, right? What do you
I
think
thought
about that?
I think we dipped under that a little bit. It looked like I'm opening up my app right now, but it looks like a double top, which isn't the most bullish, but at least we broke 200.
So you use technical analysis. Would you like to give us an overview of your technical take?
Oh, I have no technical analysis. All I learned is for this app. I don't believe in it really that much. I believe in fundamentals.
And why are you talking about double tops?
So I see it.
Yeah, but who cares if you don't care about technicals, right?
That's very valid. But
Yeah, you got to be consistent. I actually started with technical analysis when I was 15 years old. And I bought a bunch of books and read all the moving averages and the formations and everything. I did that for a couple of years, and then I switched to fundamental analysis. Yeah. Lincoln, how are you?
Hey, Yaman. I'm doing good. How are you today?
Good, good. Uzi, were you going to say something?
it was more about the technical versus fundamental. The distinction I've heard is that the technical analysis is the when and the fundamental is the what. But that's,
Well, we have another technical analyst in the audience if he wants to come up lower pretty flappy. I don't look at technical analysis, but I think it's actually at a point where it's supposed to be like switching 200 days. But we'll let Laura talk about it. Laura, what do you think about the technical analysis of Tesla?
What do I think? What kind of time frame are we talking?
Let's say in the next 12 to 1 year to 2 years.
1 to 2 years. End of year 2025 should be above 500.
So, but you follow technical analysis, right?
Yep.
So what's your take on the stock these days?
These days. So, we've went flat, right, for quite a bit. I think that actually threw me off because after bottoming out, I actually expected us to go to 200 a little faster than we ended up doing. But going forward, I'm looking at 220. That's the big multi-year downtrend line. As soon as that breaks and then retests, that is the time to go extremely aggressively long. So I think, we could probably chop within this range. Like we'll probably reject 220 just because we've slammed against that line, call it like 10 times over the past 2.5, 3 years. So it's a pretty strong like resistance area, right? So, I mean, the real question would be like, when does that crack? And my perspective is that, it doesn't matter if it's tomorrow. It doesn't matter if it's in a week or a month. It's inevitable. And it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen this year. Actually, I would definitely bet it's going to happen this year. So who cares is my perspective, honestly. Yeah.
Got you. Okay. All right. The other space must have ended. People are rushing in here now. Let's see. Omar's here too. TKU came up earlier, but then he dropped down. Omar, how are you?
Hey, doing good.
What were you guys talking about on the other space? Do you want to continue here or different topic?
Nothing interesting.
Okay.
Omar was talking about Biden.
Oh,
I
really?
that topic.
Yeah.
That was me.
Do you want to summarize maybe a few sentences? I feel like we should touch on the election debate for a couple of minutes.
Well, Biden comes up and he goes, we need this actually when I had COVID or the Medicaid, we need to stop Medicaid. Everyone's like, huh? What did he just say? He looks so confused. He looks like one of the White Walkers got lost, from Game of Thrones. And then Trump is just being Trump. He's just bullshitting. just saying all this bullshit, just like incredible A grade bullshitting. Like, you
No
know,
cursing. No cursing.
oh, sorry, I forgot.
Please. Thank you.
Like they say, like, what about January 6th? And he's like, I'll tell you, things were great on January 6th because I was president. Everything was great. We had the best economy ever. He just ruined everything. It's all his fault. And so, Biden was Biden and Trump was Trump. Then the Democrats apparently had like some freak out after, according to CNN. Like, the debate was on CNN and they had post debate commentary and they're like, Democrats are panicking. And I'm like, why are you panicking? You didn't know that's what he was like? He's always like that. And people were kind of looking at his debate clips from 4 years ago and looking at it now, and it's like, okay, clearly this guy's aged a lot, and he would be 86 when he completed the term. Like, who is running our country? Who is protecting our country right now? If like this guy can't even finish his sentence.
Right.
Like, there's this one moment where he's like, "You're the sucker." I was like, what is this? This is like a grade school argument here. At one point, they start arguing about like who's better at golf. It's like, seriously? This is a presidential debate? At one point, they go, you had sex with a porn star. No, I didn't have sex with a porn star. And it's like, imagine, like, son, watch these presidential candidates debate who should be the best president. And you turn it on, and like, that's what they're fighting about. It's like, this is so ridiculous. So a lot of Democrats have been talking about asking Biden not to run and running another Democratic candidate because they thought his debate performance was so poor, but we'll see what happens with that, if that actually comes to fruition or not.
Lord.
I'm going to say something controversial, okay? No swear words. You can't be long Tesla and pro Biden. It doesn't make any sense. Biden is the worst thing for Tesla. It's the worst thing for Elon. If you're a Biden supporter and you're an investor in Tesla, you are completely and utterly confused, and you should reevaluate your life.
Okay, good. I think that's enough political talk, probably. And good summary. Thank you very much, everybody. We made it through. Lord, did you short Rivian as Omar did with put options? And Omar, are you holding on to your put options?
Yeah, I am. They don't expire until January 2025. So, like, this is a very small amount of options, just a few $100s worth. I'm not going to make or lose a lot of money either way. It was just to kind of test my thesis, right? Sometimes it's kind of fun to test a thesis, which is, okay, they took a dilutive capital raise. The valuation should be going down actually because each share is going to produce less earnings now. And it's unclear how many more dilutive raises they're going to need before they get to a position where the business is self-sustaining, not on a gross profit level, on a net income level, right? So, and you look at Xpeng, for example, their stock jumped when Volkswagen announced they're investing 700 million. Now it's lower than where it was. You look at every other partnership Rivian has announced, it jumped and then continued going lower. So my thesis was kind of like, okay, it should go probably back to the 10, 11 level or lower once people actually digest this news. So if I buy a $14 put, which is the option to sell a share for $14, when I bought it, I think this thing was trading at like $17 or $18. People are saying, okay, well, $14 put isn't worth anything because I could sell it for 17. Now it's already under 14 and it's only been a couple days. So, like, a lot of people get upset about this and they're like, you got to support all EVs. Rivian's an EV. They're a great EV. Yes, everyone should make EVs. Rivian's a great EV. Love it. Love, big 3-row SUVs that are EV. That's all great. But at the same time, it's important to kind of just look at things truthfully, especially as people are investing. There are a lot of people who probably would have seen Rivian shoot up 50% and said, oh my God, okay, so this is like, they're going to survive now. I have to go put a bunch of money into Rivian, and they probably, would have lost a lot of that money very quickly. So it is important, I think, to kind of look at the other side. I kind of see what they did as a little bit sort of not quite deceitful, but they really tried to obviously spin the capital raise as really this sort of strategic partnership. And then once you just start to dig in even a little bit past the headlines, you realize that it's kind of not quite as presented. So I think it's important to kind of be honest, even if it is a great product, a great company that you love. The financial condition is really pretty dire, given that they're continuing to lose money on a gross profit basis on every vehicle they sell. And they pre-reported their delivery numbers. Deliveries have been declining every quarter for the last year.
Sounded like you were gonna keep going. Are you trying to throw me off? Just as I thought that I'm getting used to your pauses. Lord, so did you short it too?
I did not, and I'll tell you why. I'm solely focused on Tesla right now. There is no reason to get distracted at this, in this part of the game, right? We're on the cusp of breaking out. There's a huge disconnect between where the business is at today and where it's going to be in just a couple of years versus where the price is today, especially relative to the Mag 7. There's no reason to be getting distracted about little sparkly things here or there. I've shorted Rivian when it was like, I forgot, like 170 or something. I bought a ton of puts and made a lot of money from it. I don't give a fuck about Rivian afterwards. I don't care about any other.
You can't swear in this space.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, but
that's okay. Let's go to about Tesla. Sorry. Yeah, that's a rule of the space. It demonetizes the channel. This space being live streamed on YouTube at the same time, and ad revenue from YouTube as well as subscriptions from patrons finance this channel. Without my patrons, without all that, there's no way the space is. So I ask people to be respectful and just respect the rules of the space. Like, there's really a couple of rules. About Tesla.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Where you been? It's been a while.
Actually, I've been traveling internationally. I was on a cruise and didn't have much internet connection. Very spotty, so wasn't joining in too much.
Yeah. I'm glad you're back. Do you have an update on 12.4.2?
I wish. I hope it's coming as promised. So we'll see. One thing I can say is that we are right now seeing a lot of updates. There was going on over the past weeks. There's just one new version just started going out, 2024.20.6.2. Just showed up an hour or two ago, and it's going pretty wide. It's like 6% of the global fleet. So that's the good news for those waiting for FSD updates is that looks like all those 20.6 updates, they're just basically shuffling the versions within that range. So we had 20.1, .3, .6, .6.1, .6.2, but they're still keeping most of us FSD users on the version that would still be eligible for the .15 branch, if that's where the new FSD shows up. So that's good news for us. So it's like, we will not have to wait for another merge or something, if it does go out in the upcoming days.
I was hoping that they would base it off a 2024.20 branch.
I don't know. We'll see what the plan is. But right now, just because they're keeping everyone on the .14 branch, it means that it will still show up on the .15. They might switch to the .20, but that's an extra effort. They now need to merge with some new features and stuff. So we'll see. both options are possible right now, so that's at least that's good.
Grant.
Hey, just joined. Not sure what we're talking about, but glad to see everyone's. Actually, I'm not seeing anyone's smiling faces. I take it back entirely.
So Tesla is at $200 per share. Have you closed your shorts?
I haven't. I'm in terrible pain. I hope everyone here feels good about it, though.
So you think
I
we're
have
gonna?
some long dated puts. I mean, like nothing until after the robotaxi unveil and Q2 results. I'm not closing anything, but it's been interesting. I mean, I don't know why the stock has moved up. It's just fascinating to me.
What percentage of your portfolio is in put options?
Like, I don't know, 1.5%. I mean,
Oh my God, get him off the stage, dude. Why are you even talking about little trades that are 1% of your portfolio? Who the fuck cares? Oh shit, sorry. Oh fuck. Oh, sorry.
I mean, I'm not going to share dollar amounts. I mean, it's not a bad bet. It's not like a Robinhood traders, whatever. But it depends how you want to define full portfolio. Like my PA trading account, active type stuff it's a pretty decent portion.
Gotcha. Grant, did you short Rivian too?
No, I never. Honestly, I've not invested in autos outside of Tesla.
Okay. Omar, let's talk some Cybertruck. You're still enjoying your Cybertruck Foundation
It's
production.
amazing. It's
Yep.
so good.
And soon, hopefully, Tesla will start producing in volume the non-foundation Cybertruck as well. What do you think demand is going to look like at $80,000? Let's say, first of all, do you expect it to qualify for the tax credit? And then if it does, so $72,500 after tax credit price, what do you think demand is going to look like?
It's a good question. Based on the registration data I'm seeing from S&P Global Mobility, it looks like they're now going to be the #1 electric truck in Q2. If not, it'll be Q3. They were right up there in the first month of the quarter. I think by the last month of the quarter, they'll have passed the F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T, which isn't really saying much. Of course, that's a low bar. Those are both fairly low volume vehicles, but everywhere I go, people are just asking me about it. They're asking how much it costs, especially, yesterday I had to drop a bunch of my relatives off at the airport. They had a bunch of luggage, so they said, "Oh, can you take us in the truck?" And so we all went in the Cybertruck, and they were just sitting in it, and they're like, "Oh my God, this thing's so smooth. It's so comfortable. It's way better than my Model Y. There's so much space in here." They were like, "Oh, I was worried we wouldn't be able to fit all the bags." It's, not even using half the space that this thing has with the frunk and the trunk and everything. So it's just a really appealing vehicle for North America. I think the non-foundation, which is going to launch just next week, potentially sometime next quarter, it's going to be really exciting. It should qualify for the tax credit, given that the 4680 batteries are made in Texas. And I would imagine that they made sure that the supply chain there would be qualifying. So, it should qualify for the tax credit. That should get it down to 72. That is a $30,000 price drop for qualifying buyers. So, I don't know what demand is going to be, but I think it'll probably be higher than the 125,000 units a year of capacity they have. I think when they get down into the 60K range next year, you'll probably see, I think, demand for at least 300,000 units a year.
Grant, what do you think?
I think the Cybertruck is a disaster, honestly. I mean, the recalls were obviously not reflected in the stock price, which was.
But what do you think about that demand estimate? 300,000 a year, he said.
I don't think that's realistic. I think that the price drops will definitely help. I could see 300,000 if they got down to like 40K next year, but I don't think that's going to happen. I just, I'm obviously a hater here, but it's kind of an ugly car. I think it's a thin market. I think the novelty is wearing off, and the problems that are kind of everywhere in the product are becoming more widely known.
Omar?
Yeah, I hear the Bears kind of thumping on the recalls. Oh, the recalls, but none of the recalls have actually affected me at all. So it really is just something that they're doing out of a preponderance of caution, right? So my accelerator pedal never fell off, right? It was that, I think they said there was like some glue, and if it was not applied correctly, it was like a very, very rare thing. And even then, it's not like you can't just press the brake and get the vehicle to stop or something. So that was just something that I think was done out of excess caution and not something that really affected me at all. The windshield wiper has been perfect. I haven't had any issues with it. They said there was an issue where extra electrical current could
Think
cause the
Omar got a
motor to short
call.
circuit.
Grant?
Yeah, I mean, glad that you're having a good experience, Omar. I don't know that I've heard too much of you not having amazing experiences, mind-blowing experiences with Tesla products. If people want to see, and I'm sure people see this, like there are a lot of horror experiences with the Cybertruck that are widely available on the internet. I just don't think that that should happen for $100,000 plus car. A lot of these things getting towed away, just based on whatever it is going wrong with the battery. You see a ton of those. I just think that it's not going to land well in the consumer mind when there are all of these examples of it not, in fact, going well. I'm not, trying to disparage your individual experience. I'm not saying that's the experience everyone has, but there are definitely a lot of concerns that would probably be there for people thinking about spending a lot of money on a truck that is having a lot of issues.
Yeah, there aren't really any issues the people are having with it. I mean, there's some early adopter issues here and there, when you have a new product, but generally it's extremely reliable. It works just like any other Tesla. The stories bears are trying to paint just doesn't match up with reality. And that's why it's the number one best-selling electric truck. Despite, the story he's painting, you'd think who would buy this thing? But then you actually get in it and you drive it, you try the steer by wire, and you try the new air suspension, you try all the technology they've packed into this thing like power share, and you realize it's just an incredible vehicle to drive when you're sitting inside. I mean, the yesterday after, I was dropping my family at the airport, they took all their luggage out and you put the thing into sport mode, and the thing can just drive at extremely high speeds and it just feels like nothing. I mean, this is really just a phenomenal vehicle to drive. And I think anybody who just sort of gets behind the wheel and tries that can see it. And that's why it's the number one best selling electric truck, and why I think it's ultimately going to be a competitive threat to ICE trucks. I think if you're looking at one of these things, or even an F-150 Lightning compared to an ICE truck, there's a lot of reasons why you'd want the electric option instead of the gas, like having a frunk, having the ability to charge, the driving feel, the technology. It's all way, way ahead of your typical truck.
Any other questions? Can you guys hear Grant?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. 300,000 a year. Interesting. Grant?
Yeah, I mean, that's all fine. Just to respond, I guess, we're not going to agree. I don't see that level of depth in terms of the demand. I you know, what I read if I Google Reddit reviews and try to actually arrive at a more objective view. I mean, I understand I'm a bear. There are always these one-off incidents that can seem really bad, but in my heart of hearts, and like in trying to be objective in perceiving the situation, I don't think that 2024 is going well for the Cybertruck. I don't think that it is living up to the expectations that people had, and that's the judgment everyone needs to come to themselves.
So, when the F-150 Lightning was unveiled, did you believe that the Cybertruck would outsell it?
I don't pay attention to like the F-150 Lightning. I mean, I spend less time paying attention. My issues with the Tesla models are less a function of the volume, though. I mean, you guys have a ton of people that will buy anything Elon puts his mark on. That's not necessarily the right indicator of success here. That's what I would say. I mean, a bunch of these recalls related to things that should have absolutely been caught in QA for $100,000 plus car, to me, point to a failed product launch. I mean, we're going to disagree, but it's not gone swimmingly well. That's just objectively true.
None of these recalls are things that I've actually seen happen, and the vast majority of people have not seen them happen. They're taking the recall to fix it before a potential problem occurs. I think bears are really just kind of living in an alternate reality here. They really want to believe that this thing is a failure, despite the fact that it's already outselling the products that were supposed to be mopping the floor with it in just a few quarters of production. Everyone said this thing's weird. Nobody's going to buy it. Bears have not accepted the reality, just like with Model Y when they said, "Oh, it's just a Model 3 on stilts," right? They haven't accepted the reality of the fact that this is actually a crucial new product that expands the TAM. I mean, everywhere you go, people are excited. You see people smile everywhere you go. They come up to you, they go, "Oh my God, how much is that?" In some cases, they ask, "What is it? What brand is it?" You have kids coming and saying, "Hey, can I look inside? Can I take a can my little kid take a picture to send to their friends?" Even like you go through the drive-through and people in the drive-through are asking, "How much is that? Where can I order one?" The interest in this product, the viral nature of it is like nothing else. And when you actually get them behind the wheel, when they drive it, when they try the steer by wire, they try the performance of this vehicle, this vehicle that's super large, but drives like a luxury sports car. It's the flagship of
Can
Tesla's
you guys hear
lineup.
Omar?
It's the best product they make.
Brent?
Yeah, we can hear him. Yeah, he's been talking.
Yeah, I was able to hear him too.
I can hear him.
I mean, that's all fine. Look, if I Google Cybertruck reviews Reddit, generally speaking, what I see is not aligned with what you're saying. The framing of I haven't personally experienced this issue and the people I know haven't experienced it is not the right framing either, because there are people experiencing it, which is why these recalls are occurring. It doesn't really matter if you're experiencing it or not. If 5% of people are having uncontrollable acceleration because they didn't put proper QA and attentiveness into the build out of the pedal, if the windshield wipers are breaking and leaving people stranded in parking lots because rain makes the vehicle unusable. And these are people who are in a lot of cases the earliest adopters, meaning like day one reservation holders who are uber fans of Tesla, Elon, anything that this company puts out, and they're getting on the internet and sorry, I caught myself, Yaman, just saying that it's not a good product. I'm going to take that to mean maybe there's some issues. I don't really feel like arguing it because I know that, it's all amazing. It's all mind blowing. It's the future, whatever. But like, I'm happy to take a coffee bet that they are not going to produce 300,000 of these next year unless they're able to like drop the price in half or more. I just don't see it happening. I think that these things are practically a meme at this point. You see people like sneaking into parking lots to spray paint expletives on the cars. You see people like, I think I saw a Reddit post where someone was like, "Yeah, I'm getting the finger everywhere I go." Like, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is mostly kind of happening in your imagination. You imagine everyone having all these problems. It's just a
It's Reddit,
disaster.
Omar. I'm telling you, it's Reddit.
Well, I don't doubt that there's a post on Reddit where someone's complaining or has a negative review. I mean, there's a lot of people who just want to be negative on Tesla. They're bears, they're shorts, whatever. But talk to actual people who have the product. They're not, it's not just randomly breaking all the time, the windshield wipers falling off, the accelerator pedals falling off, it's uncontrolled acceleration. None of those things are actually happening. What's actually happening is they're using the product, they're loving it, they're they're able to use an EV for things that they've never used an EV for. And they're using all of these technologies like steer by wire, the new 48-volt architecture, the new air suspension, and they're saying, wow, this is a really comfortable, great ride. And it's a hit. I mean, look at the level of celebrities that are using it. Would they be using something that's falling apart when they could be driving anything? What the argument that bears are making here, that everyone's flipping you off, nobody's flipped me off, not even once. Everybody's excited. They wave. They ask about it. I mean, bears are just living in an alternate reality here. They're in denial about what a hit this product is. And I don't deny, with any new product, there'll be some hiccups, right? There'll be some issues. But is that going to derail the entire product? No. You saw the same arguments with the Model 3. Oh my God, Model 3 had this issue. This is going to be a complete failure of a program. Well, they worked through the issues, they continued to improve the product, and they sold millions of Model 3 and Y. So it really does seem like bears like Grant are living in denial about what a hit this product actually is. Contrary to what everyone said, oh, it's ugly, no one's going to buy it. It's outselling every other electric truck. How many people predicted that? I mean, it's time for the critics to just realize they were wrong. The demand for this is way higher than anyone expected. And this is at $100,000 that they're selling all of these things. Now they're bringing the price down. And demand isn't going to decrease as they make it more affordable and make it qualify for the tax credit.
Yeah, I mean, we disagree, but I would encourage people, rather than taking either of our words, to do some sleuthing around Facebook groups dedicated to Cybertruck owners or Reddit, because I actually feel extremely comfortable saying that with the knowledge that those groups are full of people complaining about the build quality and other issues that they've experienced in owning the car. I'm not making this up in my mind. I'm literally saying that I think the data supports my side of the argument much more than Omar's. So people can make their own determinations there. As it relates to the volumes, I mean, there are a lot of people. I think that it's just worth keeping in mind that these are the people who, in a lot of cases, ran out to spend money on this truck the day that it was announced, the day that people started taking deposits. This isn't a cohort of the normal car owning public. These are Tesla Uber bulls who love this product, love Elon, love all these things. And they've, in a lot of cases, become very disenchanted with the brand. I just don't see this. I guess maybe a corollary to that is that there's a question of the actual depth of, that audience. A lot of people who will run out and spend this amount of money on a car might not be reflective of a lot of people in the general public who really want it and are going to be desperate to buy it next year at $80,000 or whatever. That's my take. I'm not going to be dissuaded from it. You can say I'm living in an alternate reality, but this is also a group labeled Tesla Live that meets daily to talk about how awesome Tesla and Elon are. Omar, from what I can tell,
Okay, thank you. We have other speakers.
Watch the sales numbers. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
Watch the sales numbers and get behind the wheel.
Yoda.
Yeah, no doubt, Grant. There has been Tesla supporters and bulls who got their Cybertruck and had maybe a bad experience and is now losing faith in Tesla and Elon. But those are rare and far in between. They are on the internet for sure. I think the gating factor for the Cybertruck right now is whether they can successfully ramp and grow the volume in terms of production. And based on what I've seen at Giga Texas, that is going well, and they're going to be approaching 1,500 per week very shortly, and then that will scale, onward to 25 and then 5,000 units per week. I think what we want to recognize is that the Cybertruck gave France a license to really create designs of cars and vehicles of the future. If you remember back in 19, I have to be honest, I was shocked when I first saw the design. But I think what we'll see is that the cyber cab or the robotaxi um, will be very futuristic thanks to the feedback that I think everyone has given Tesla on the design of the Cybertruck. So we'll see Tesla going forward having that license to create very futuristic vehicles.
Ipatio.
Hi all, I just wanted to say that today, 69 days after 420, is a special day. Not only because it's Elon's birthday, but because I got my first Tesla delivered to me. So it's one of the happiest days of my life.
Congratulations and happy birthday to Elon as well. Thank you, Ipatio. AT. Okay. Yoda, what do you think about Omar's estimate about 300,000 a year demand level at 80,000?
Well, you know, Omar and I used to disagree on one thing, which is August 8th. And now there's two things we're going to disagree on. It's 500,000, Omar, not 300,000.
You
I
think
I
they're going to
said
ramp it?
300,000 at 60,000.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 80. Wow. All right. When do you
At
think they're
80,
going to
I
get?
think there could be, 125 to 150,000 maybe.
Okay. So you expect $60,000 by mid next year?
Yeah. That would be 53K with the point of sale credit. Really getting into Model Y territory, right? So
Well, if it
Model
stays
Y
around
buyers,
though, right? If
Hmm?
if it stays around, right? I mean, there's a chance that. I mean, it's looking pretty likely that it's not going to be around next year.
Well, it's not going to happen that fast. You would still probably be able to claim it in 2025.
Yoda, any thoughts on yesterday's debate?
What was the debate? There's been many.
The presidential one. Come on.
What was it?
The presidential debate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was getting text from my Canadian friends, you know, just like sympathy notes. Um, the greatest nation in the world, arguably, uh, has these two candidates to offer, and you know, it's just unreal. But we'll see. There's still a few months to go.
Okay. Let's switch to Optimus then. Omar, what are top 3 things you're going to be tracking in the next few years to make sure? So let's kind of identify 3 factors that we can track: the trackable, measurable, material, in the next few years to make sure things are moving along as we expect.
On Optimus?
Right.
Well, probably the first thing is actually the progress of FSD. The progress of FSD, which is really a car moving through the world, is sort of a lot of what the robot has to do, right? It has to learn to move through the physical world. But the physical world is even more unbounded of a problem. You don't have clear road markings in your kitchen. You sometimes have stuff on the floor that you might trip on. So learning to move around the physical world in a generalized way is a superset of the self-driving problem. So if they're able to solve the self-driving problem, or if they're making progress on that, then they're also making progress towards the robot being able to do locomotion with pure vision, walk, move around, manipulate objects. So that's one thing I would sort of look at. The next thing would be really the hardware design being finalized and production starting in some capacity. Tesla's mentioned that they are redesigning the hands to have additional degrees of freedom. We'd want to see them kind of lock down a Gen 1 design on the hardware and then start production. So they said they have a goal of starting production for internal use by the end of next year. So even if everything isn't finalized, it's good to get that production line going and then iterate on it, iterate on the hardware, and start to have that experience of what putting it together is actually like, because that can actually inform the design and the engineering. And that's really the most important thing, to find out, okay, how can we mass produce these things? Do we have a design that's conducive to mass production? So that's really important on the hardware side for them. Then really the next thing would probably just be the software of the bot itself. Um, what kind of tasks is it able to do? Are they able to demonstrate autonomous function? How are they training it? Are they training it in a scalable way? What's really the trajectory? Have they moved from really task specific training, where they're training it to, let's say, fold a shirt, for example, but it's a very sort of, narrow operating domain, right? That they're just handling that one specific task, towards training models that are actually far more general and can, for example, adapt to a variety of tasks. Like, for example, learn to pick up any object and place it anywhere else in the room or something like that. So those are probably three things I'm looking at: the progress of FSD, the finalization and production of the hardware, as well as more clarity on what the robot software looks like, and seeing it evolve from task specific training to a more general purpose operating system that more closely resembles what you'd actually want in an industrial or consumer setting.
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, I love this question. I don't know that I have fantastic answers, but I think this is the exact type of thinking that's kind of needed to make sure that this doesn't become, like a Tesla semi or something like that. I think having crisp expectations and timelines associated with each of those things is important. I am obviously not as optimistic as a lot of people are in this group around this becoming a material part of the business in the near term. So would love to hear from other people. One framing that I would offer as a bear is like, what would it take for you to become less optimistic on the future of this? If they haven't begun production in a year, is that a problem? If you don't think that it's going to have the range of use cases, like, I don't understand in general how people are so excited about all of these things, um, where they've kind of blinded themselves to any potential downsides or time slippages, all of the above. I just am curious how people would get less excited, maybe one way of saying it.
Yeah, Omar, actually, can you put some parameters on number one, the progress on FSD, something measurable?
Yeah, average miles per intervention, average rated comfort by the user, um, you know, the ability to start operating driverlessly. Those would all be signs of progress. That would, I think, translate over into the bot as well. If you can train a car to be reliable enough to drive without a human, then you can probably also train a bot to walk around a house and not fall over most of the time.
Grant?
Yeah, I agree that those are good metrics. I would be curious to get a crisper view of what you mean by those. So, like, miles per disengagement, how many, when?
Well, I mean, just generally higher is better, obviously. Um, and I think this isn't necessarily like something that needs to happen this year or next year, or it's a disaster. this is a long-term vision that I don't expect to just sort of flush out all at once. It's going to take a lot of hard work to get this to live up to the vision. And, if it turned out like the Tesla Semi, I don't think that would be necessarily the worst outcome. I mean, the Tesla Semi, which is in use now by, Costco, PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, they've tested it extensively. They're able to use it for their real workloads. They have, chargers installed there. They need more of a, semi-charger build out. That's a public semi-charger network. They're now gearing up for mass production of the Tesla Semi. So, I mean, the time frame might be pretty similar to a Tesla Semi, depending on how they do it. I mean, they obviously set very aggressive timelines. Having something in production next year, I think, is an aggressive timeline. And you assume that there will be slippage. They're not going to meet every goal. If that's the criteria you're evaluating them on, how many goals did you meet, then you're going to think it's a disaster. But what's really important is, can you actually bring the vision to market before anybody else, or in a way that is, bringing something new to the table? And that's what matters for self-driving. That's what matters for robotics, right? It's easy for people to say, okay, well, someone already did driverless, game over. But no, until car ownership is really replaced globally, it's not game over. And until we've really seen the full potential of these robots to transform the labor market, then the game isn't over.
Alice.
Is there any speculation, or has anyone ever mentioned like any sort of price point on these things? I know initially they'll probably be expensive, but do we think this will get down to kind of anyone who wants one can have one?
I think Elon threw out a number of like $20,000 retail price, with the cogs of the bot probably being around 10,000. But he mentioned that they probably wouldn't sell them at first. They'd actually, he thinks, probably rent them hourly. So you'd pay, $15-20 an hour or something like that. And you could rent one of these robots to do whatever you need to do.
Grant.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Omar's comment. I asked the question, how many miles per disengagement would you want to see when? And no offense, Omar, I got a very soft answer that was all about how, well, the future and potential. Like, it's just.
Yeah, I'll give you. I mean, the reason why he's being soft about it, I mean, I guess maybe soft is not the right word, but he's not kind of being committal to the exact metric that you is the reason why we talked about it in your space the other night. It's really difficult to minimize it to one metric, right? I'm going to put you on mute for a second. It's really difficult to minimize FSD progress to one metric, such as critical disengagements, because there's so many different vectors of progress when it comes to this software. But for the purposes of kind of tracking, I agree with you. I think that we should kind of put out some targets. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to ask for anyone else to do it. I'm going to do that for you. Okay, Grant? So what?
Yeah, I'm not trying to avoid your question, but I didn't really understand what you're saying. So obviously more miles per intervention are better. Are you saying what goal do you want to see them achieve, or what exactly is your question?
What precise metrics would make you disappointed in the progress? So my theory, I hear what you're saying, Iman, in terms of a lot of things being in play, but as a bear and as a spectator of Bull's thinking on these things, it feels clear to me that there are functionally no standards around what Tesla delivers. It could take 8 years and you'll still be talking about how awesome Tesla Bot's going to be when it comes out. So the thinking that I'm trying to encourage and understand from your side is, what represents a bright line somewhere? It doesn't have to be like an absolute binary, I'm selling the stock and I hate the company, I don't believe in Tesla Bot anymore, or FSD. But what represents a metric below which you would feel very alarmed at the potential of this business to deliver on some of the commitments that they made? So a framing I had for Yaman whenever we spoke a couple days ago, was if miles per intervention are the same at the end of the year as they are right now. Is that concerning to you? Do you care? What do you actually care about beyond Elon being at the helm of this business? Is there a number that, if in 18 months we're at the same number of miles per intervention, are you going to start thinking that maybe FSD isn't working? Like, what
Dude, I was just about to give you what you want, and you started changing topic again.
Well,
Do you want
Grant,
miles
think
per
this-
disengagement target or not, Grant?
I missed what you said. Sorry.
Do you want a miles per disengagement target?
What's the target for what? I mean, like, what I want is the target at which you say, I don't think this company is ever going to deliver an FSD robotaxi, or I'm going to sell, or I'm really worried.
One more.
Well, Grant, I think you've really kind of illuminated, I think, why you're going to blow yourself up on this trade. You think that the customers of this company are all delusional. They're in love with Elon. The reality is, I and other people are buying these products because they're great products. They're useful to us.
Can you just answer the question?
I am answering the question. Listen to me. And this thing is driving me around. It's now doing all of my drives. The rate of successful drives it's doing, the smoothness, the comfort, it's increasing. If the miles per intervention were flat or down, then yes, that would obviously cause us to be concerned. We'd say, hey, miles per intervention is supposed to be going up, it's going down, or it's flat. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing it shoot up. Now, if you look at the public data from Waymo, their test fleet has about 20,000 miles per intervention. Their driverless fleet has about 80,000 miles per intervention. So between 20,000 to 80,000, you can really start operating driverless fleets. And I mean, I think it's kind of humiliating for you, honestly, the way this technology is just leaping forward, leapfrogging
I'm still
Waymo
waiting on that
in
answer,
miles
Omar.
per intervention. Well, what part of the answer did you not get? I told you, if miles per intervention were flat or going down, that would be concerning. I gave you a target.
When would you believe that Tesla's not ever going to be able to offer autonomous robotaxis with this technology? Like, come on, I feel like you know the question, you're just not wanting to answer it. What miles per disengagement at year end would give you concern? What miles per disengagement at year end 2025 would make you think that, hey, this might not ever work? That's the question. Don't tell me about Waymo's numbers. Don't tell me about how it's driving you and how it's amazing. I'm asking you a question and I would like you to answer it.
Yeah, I've been answering the question.
It's a number, a date, and a specific thing that you'd be worried about.
If it was flat or it was down, I would be concerned. It's going up. I don't think you get it. You need to try and absorb this. Every day, every update, the car is driving better. It's doing more and more drives successfully. The number is shooting up. Okay? I don't see how anyone can doubt at this point that it's going to get above human level driving.
I do.
And
I mean, it's moving pretty slowly at this point. And I think that the question is really, at what point would you also worry about it never getting there? What number when?
I mean, what are you talking about? I told you. If it was not improving,
all right, whatever.
I
give up. It's
be
fine.
worried.
It's fine. He's not going to answer. But the point is, there's no standard
I answered.
here. You're going to no.
You have your head in you have your head in the sand. Wake up.
Hey, Grant. Do you realize that Elon Musk runs a company called SpaceX? SpaceX lands rockets that go up probably once a week on a drone ship in the middle of the ocean. How do you not think that he's going to solve FSD being the top engineer in the whole company?
I don't know if vision only will ever work for FSD. And the fact is, no one here does. And the fact is that no one really cares.
We know it.
It's just a big.
We know it.
You probably knew it back.
We know it because it's doing our driving, and you don't know it because you're not using it. You're just talking out of your ass.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, guys. What's going on here? Is like Friday jitters? What's the problem here? Let's do some exercises. Let's do some breathing.
Because of the stock.
Let's do some breathing exercises together. So everybody breathe in. Breathe in and out. Do some kickers. Reach up. Reach to the sides. Rotate. All right. Great. Who wants to talk? Danny.
Yeah, when FSD fails, it's not about like failing to measure distance. It's like it enters a bike lane because they look different sometimes. So vision, I think, can definitely take care of it. It's never because of distance. It's vision and data.
Yoda.
Yeah, Grant. I think what we're trying to explain to you is that there was a period where it was difficult to measure the progress and experience the progress of FSD. And even Elon had been tricked into these, what he calls false dawns. The way it works now is that maybe a good parallel is like iPhones. You know, if I'm invested in Apple and I'm banking on, iPhone's growth and continuous improvement to retain its market share or grow its market share, I would care about whether the iPhone has been improving version by version. And for iPhone owners, you can kind of see whether it is objectively improving from 10, 11, 12, etc. to now 15. Now, the moment iPhone 17, 16 comes out and it's actually worse, then you might be concerned. If they continue to be worse on 17, 18, you may actually want to revisit your investment thesis. And that is exactly what's happening with FSD. You could apply that to TSMC with chips and so on. So what we're able to do now as investors is we have this information arbitrage whereby we are testing FSD. And in some cases, the improvement might actually take a step back. But Tesla has been able to show that they can then retrain the model and give a point iteration that is therefore able to regain that advancement. So I think that's what we're trying to explain. It is objectively measurable. We don't know the exact date, but we can see the progress.
Omar.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have sensed a lot of uneasiness amongst the bears as the stock has been running up a little bit. A lot more bears kind of getting nasty, saying, well, how could this be? When will you admit this is a failure when we're just seeing it make leaps forward? We're seeing it go hands free. We're seeing new records in miles per intervention, and they're asking us, well, when do you think it's going to fail? And I think that bears are just going to continue to be confused all the way to all-time highs because smart money, people like Bill Gurley, who has access to this stuff, who's able to test this stuff, who's able to look at hands-free, they're able to look at this and say, there's never been a product on the market like this before, where you just give it a destination, any destination, and it can take you there hands-free. And for years, they've been investing billions of dollars. And they're now, for the first time, starting to roll it out, not only in North America, but globally. And we're just now going to see them flex the earnings power of what they've been developing for years. And it will be very funny to watch bears try and cope as that happens.
Grant.
Yeah, just in brief, I mean, the thing that I perceive in this group is that there's not a willingness to establish expectations and then refactor.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell it to you right now. We'll do it right now. I expect miles per disengagement to double every year. Okay.
When does it get to 30,000 miles per disengagement and thus robo-taxi status then? Are we like 5 years away according to that definition?
Yeah. That's my expectation. I think until then, FSD take rates will improve. But my base case expectation, and I'm hopeful they'll beat this, but my base case is double every year.
That's more sensible than what we hear from a lot of people, so I appreciate that. I also would point out that at that point we'll be a healthy decade behind schedule. I think it's good to just have real expectations. I applaud you for that. And then hold people to those so that if it's only gone up 20% in a year, maybe this isn't happening. I see a complete lack of ability.
So now you have your expectation now, so we have to move on though.
That's
We
fine.
have other hands, and thank you very much for joining us. And I'll talk to you next time, Omar.
Yeah. One thing I'll just say is I'm about to drive about an hour to the Pacific Palisades, and my car is going to drive me there. It's going to do the entire thing, and it'll probably be zero intervention. As much as bears want to say, oh, this is a decade behind schedule, it's late, it's never happening, this is something that hundreds of thousands of people are using every day. It's a real product. And as it continues to get better, more and more people enjoy it.
Lenny.
My question was for Grant, so hopefully he's still listening. What other companies anywhere have any expectations of 1 year, 5 years? The only competition that Tesla has with FSD is Waymo. And listening to Omar, they're not going for it. It's stuck in San Francisco. It's stuck in 2 other cities. FSD will go worldwide. China, whole United States, going to Canada. So these are things to think about, not just, oh, when is it going to be 100%? Like, they have to work on it. It's not an overnight thing. Like, Elon did not launch rockets overnight. Took a while to build them, took a while to get data.
Yoda.
I just want to play a sound effect for Grant.
Okay. X is 01.
Thank you for having me. Listen, Omar, since we've been in the last space, I've been full self-driving. I have not touched my wheel at all. I'm driving to pick my kid up at summer camp. That's roundabouts, highway merging, through the rain, bad, and I'm vision only. My car does not have sensors. So I think Grant has not experienced it. And I'm on 12.3.6. and I'm still having almost no interventions. And I look around me and I see performance. I see a Highland coming up behind me right now on the highway. So people like Grant they're not doing enough research apparently, or they're just really, really hurt that they're losing money in the market. That's my only comment.
Well, I have a question for you, X01. I think this is the first time you're speaking in this space. Would you give us a few sentences on your background?
Sure. I live in Florida. I'm a science teacher, so I'm familiar with chemistry very well. And I really, really am fascinated by battery chemistry and how they work. And I would like to make one more note. I charged 40% of my LFP battery with proper preheating in 12 minutes just now. So I sat there, watched a truck with a boat pull into Buc-ee's, and I charged and left before they did. So these people that are spouting all this nonsense and FUD, they can do what they want. But I'm an investor in Tesla. We don't have that much money, but we have quite a few. We were there before the split, the most recent one. And I'll be honest with you, I really feel like this company is going crazy. They're gonna go and be more expensive. But they're going to be a better company than Apple or anything else to invest in my opinion. That's not financial advice. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor.
Okay. Thank you. So let me ask you specifically, what one sentence did you hear from Grant that you can disprove?
Okay, so I put the phone close to my head and I'm getting in trouble with the car. Okay. When he said,
your connection is really bad.
What?
Sorry, your connection is really bad. We're going to move on. Who wants to take that same question that I asked at 01? What's one sentence did you hear from Grant that you can disprove with available data today? And if people in the space want to answer that question, you can do so in the replies to the space.
Okay, I didn't specifically notate exactly what he was saying, so I can't give you an exact sentence. However, he was saying FSD is never going to live up to expectations, and everybody was arguing, well, he's landing rockets. That was the portion of his statement that I had trouble with. And to be honest with you, I am driving with FSD, and I don't think he's experienced it. And I would have liked to have told him that, but he ran away so quick that weren't able to do it. So if I were to tell anybody in this space, if you want to find out about FSD, you try it. Don't listen to anybody else, and you'll see with your own eyes. That's all. I'm just trying to be, brief.
Okay, so next time, if somebody has a objection to a bear, whether it's Grant or Brad or a number of others that we have come in every now and then, please select a specific sentence that they say, and also have the data to disprove it ready. Okay?
I understand. Thank you.
And let's say, so Grant's question was, what is your target miles per disengagement for FSD in any sort of period that you want? And we're going to use the Tesla FSD tracker as the kind of the referee here. So right now, that miles per disengagement, critical disengagement, is about 200 miles. Where do you expect it to be by year end, by next year, X01?
Well, the way my car is driving, I would probably expect it to be probably 2,000 if I had to guess. By next year, by 2025. That's 6 months from now. I would expect it to be around 5,000, probably. If not, I haven't driven with the new version, so I don't know. But if not, it could go, and that could vary wildly, and that's completely a guess. I don't have any clue because I haven't driven with the newest version. Omar would probably be better to answer that question than me.
Oh, hold on. So so I'm trying to pop that cherry here. So you're saying 2,000 miles between critical disengagements by year end. Is that correct?
I am saying if I had to guess, I would say it would be at least 2,000 miles by 2025 between disengagements. Yes.
Yeah, but just to clarify, so we have to be very careful with the wording of these bets because sometimes things get all heated at the end. I meant this, you meant that, etc. So just to clarify, you're saying by year end 2024. So when you said by 2025, you're probably, I think you said 6 months, right?
Yes, that's correct. And I'm no expert, nor am I making a bet with anybody.
No, that's okay. Well, you're not making.
Okay.
You're not making a copy. You don't want to make a copy bet? Come on.
I'm not even sure what that means. I hear you guys say it all the time. Hey, I'll buy you
Oh,
coffee,
it's just
bro. I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's that's the attitude, right? It's kind of like this.
Listen, I would buy you coffee anyway.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm gonna put this down, and this is our first coffee bet. I appreciate you being a good sport about this. So I'm gonna say that's not gonna happen. But Elon was on your side, right? He said 5x to 10x improvements with I think 12.4. So he's on your side. He also said 12.5 was going to come out with further improvements. And I think when he said it, the FSD tracker was showing about 300 miles per critical disengagement. So even if it gets to just 5x, that would get you to 1500 with further improvement to 12.5. It should satisfy your prediction. And I'm going to give you another 6 months. So we're going to make it 1 year.
Wow.
Okay?
Generous.
And you're welcome. And it's because it's Friday. And we're going to make it 1 year and 2,000 miles per critical disengagement is the target. All right?
I will 100% take that coffee bet, sir.
Okay, great. Yoda.
Yeah, I think the disengagements at 2,000 might be a little bit on the low side if we want to consider the average miles driven per vehicle. However, mathematically, I was wondering if Omar can comment on the difference between that much larger average at around, say, 15,000 miles or 10,000 miles versus the average trip and how that works sort of mathematically.
I mean, I think everybody's actually underestimating the rate of progress So really, I would expect them to get to more than 10,000 miles per intervention within the next 12 to 24 months at the very least. I think that's actually conservative. But really what matters in terms of what consumers care about is it the best, right? So is it the best self-driving system I can get? If, let's say, Audi came out with a car and it had better self-driving, I might actually think about buying that if it's better. Or if it's almost as good, but it's improving really fast. But when you look at the competition, they're nowhere and they're not improving at all, right? So when you compare nowhere and not improving at all, and then you got the bears saying, what rate of improvement would worry you? I suppose obviously if miles per intervention stays flat or goes down, that's bad. But even still, if there's no alternative, I'll probably still be using FSD.
I don't think anyone even has a chance to catch up. They would have had to start 3 or 4 years ago. And we have way too much information coming into their neural network. So,
Yeah, I think if you ask the wrong question, you're gonna get even worse answers. So I think the right question to ask is more about around progress, rate of improvement, rather than when will FSD be solved.
I absolutely agree with that statement too, because rate of improvement can be plotted on a graph and you can clearly see a trend. If it goes parabolic, it's not even a question. You're like, okay, well, here we go. It's robotaxi time. And that could happen overnight, the way that they're developing software. I've never seen anything like it. It's great.
We must solve FSD, even if it takes a long time, even if it's hard. We must do it. Unless somebody's already done it, then maybe the need to do it goes away. But until it's actually done, until every car is driverless, even if there's a year where we don't make much progress or something bad happens, we have to just continue to push forward. So there is no point where we give up, and I think that's what's so frustrating to the Bears. Whatever it takes, they will get it done.
And I think all these other issues, the Cybertruck had a recall, the battery life, blah, 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 blah. They're all in the shadow of FSD. FSD is the juggernaut that is going to take this company to new heights that we've never seen before, that we can't even imagine. And you add it into the Optimus and Robotaxi and semis, and before you know it, it's ball rolling downhill, just continues gathering speed. And I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any historians here, but this reminds me of the Wright brothers solving flight for humans. And in their first attempts, I'm sure there were a lot of naysayers, people mocking them, asking them, when can you predict that humans will be able to take flight? I'm glad they didn't stop, and I'm glad that they had the singular goal of solving human flight. I think that's maybe an issue with the Bears, is that they're looking for reasons why this will not succeed and looking for a specific point in time when this will be solved. Yeah, that's wondering if Omar or others have any comments on flight.
Yeah, I don't think anybody here is a qualified psychic, and my crystal ball broke. So, people like that, I can't give them an exact date, but I can tell you what I experienced. And if you did it, if you experienced it, you would know as well. Not you personally. I mean, people.
Did you see the bet X01?
I'm sorry. I'm still supervising the full self-driving, so I'm not really looking at my phone, and I don't want to get another ding for looking at my phone.
Okay, well, when you get a chance, just reply to it with accept. It's in the replies to the space. and you'll see it in your mentions. And I agree with Grant's take that we should be more specific about our forecasts, about our pushbacks, instead of coming up here and berating people for being bearish.
Yeah, I tried to look, and it's.
I don't want you to look right now. You're driving. When you get a chance, it's fine.
By the way,
Gonna hard ding me.
the progress is absolutely measurable. Right now, you're not seeing 12.4 on the community tracker, but as early as this weekend, you're going to start to see that update go out. And the improvements that they've been working on internally will start to surface. And it'll become quite apparent in the data that the update is at least twice as good in miles per intervention, if not 5 to 10 times as good.
Okay. All right, changing topics. Omar, what did you think of Ford's CEO's article?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. I completely agree. I think a lot of people are choosing EVs for these reasons. They love EVs. They love being able to charge at home. They love the driving feel. It's just unfortunate that Ford's EV business is doing so poorly. But at least Jim Farley understands the appeal.
Did any sentence in the article stand out for you?
Not particularly. I mean, I think just the idea that he was a former petrol head, a lot of people who are not listening to traditional sort of EV content will listen to him and they'll hear what he has to say and they'll maybe reconsider what they thought they knew about EVs. So I think it's potentially powerful in that way. But you look at what Ford's been doing on the business side and they've been cutting back production of EVs. And that is kind of a business reality when you look at the unit economics of their product. But I think he kind of feels guilty about it. He knows it's a long-term strategic mistake, and he's trying to come out and say, "Hey, I'm not dismissive of this. I see the potential. I'm having to pull back out of necessity, but my heart is still here." So it's kind of a PR move in that way, but it's true and it's helpful. So hats off to Farley for that.
If Ford and these other companies would.
You have to kind of wonder why he's coming out with this article. Because they're prioritizing hybrids over EVs.
Right.
So what's up with that? You're coming out with this EV article, but at the same time, you're canceling EV programs, canceling battery plants, appeasing pure labor unions, and pushing hybrids on your earnings calls. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, nobody can make EVs profitably except Tesla. They may love EVs. They may want to sell a lot of EVs, but their business and their supply chain, their labor contracts, they don't allow them to sell EVs made in the United States and make money. So the knowledge that this is actually the future of the industry is hitting up against the reality of actually transitioning the business, which is very hard. And that's how they end up doing hybrids. Because, okay, well, we can do this, it's less cost. We're building up some of the skills, maybe. But ultimately, they know they can't do what the consumer will really want. And they're going to keep working on it. I think they're going to keep trying to advance their architecture. But it's been years now since they started selling the Mustang Mach-E, and they haven't turned a profit once. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think some of the numbers that we've seen are the worst ever. And the dealers, they obviously have a lot of inventory piling up. They've had to massively increase incentives to move these things off the lot. The business reality and what Farley knows needs to be done for the business are kind of at heads with each other.
All right. Yoda, how's it going on your end?
It's good. Looking forward to seeing the Q2 numbers next week.
Yeah. I mean, I think Pro does such a great job that he's usually within 1% for production and deliveries. I don't really expect a major surprise. It seems like all the entire Wall Street is following his numbers and adjusting their numbers according to what Troy says. He's going to come out with his estimate this weekend, and I guess we'll get the number on, is it Monday or Tuesday? One of those days. So I don't expect a major surprise. But what do you expect for, I know you're still an investor in NVIDIA. Are you buying more at these prices? Oh, sorry, you told me not to ask that question. Okay. There's some concerns around AI being a bubble. Dell CEO is selling shares. NVIDIA CEO is selling shares as well in the tens of millions of dollars range. I think total insider sales have added up to about $1 billion plus. Does that concern you at all?
Yeah, for NVIDIA specifically, those are like pre-scheduled sales. And definitely with if you had all your assets tied up in one company, there are a lot of times where the executives, they do need cash to pay taxes, to fund other investments. So that's not surprising. Yeah, for me, nothing's changed. I think NVIDIA right now is exactly where I thought it'd be post split at 125. There is one, move that I'm considering, which is shifting all of it into TSMC. That's my sort of longer term preference, a more steady growth player. But right now, I think I'll keep in NVIDIA. The thesis is the same. I think for me as a heavy user, both on the developer and end user side of LLMs and different models for AI, right now we're using it in a very pedestrian way, predominantly text, maybe some images, and several times a day. This is going to be always on and multimodal, and so we are just in the beginning innings of for NVIDIA.
You said you're keeping it in NVIDIA for now, and longer term, your goal is to switch all the semiconductor investments into TSMC. Why not Tesla?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my holdings in TSMC and Apple and NVIDIA, and now less so with NVIDIA because of just how much it has grown, is sort of light cash investments whereby they typically present a steady growth rate that exceeds, obviously bank interest rate and mutual funds and ETFs. So to me, these are investments that I'm willing to sell to fund, life expenses in order to hold off selling any shares of Tesla. So that's how I see these three companies that I hold.
Thank you. TSMC, Apple, NVIDIA, and Tesla are your majority of investments. I got you.
Yeah, that's all actually. That's it.
4 investments, the entire portfolio. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Danny, are you in NVIDIA at all, or any of the other semiconductors?
Yeah, I sold NVIDIA like 10 days ago, like almost at peak. And I think it might go down a bit. People are scared, So Tesla I hold, S&P 500 I hold, but like NVIDIA, when it seems high, I get out quite quickly, and then I come back, kind of.
Okay, so you do some short-term trading as well. Okay. Yoda, are you concerned about macroeconomic risks at all this year?
No, because my investment horizon are longer. You know, right now I think what the person just said there is quite typical, and I don't sort of blame people for getting into trades in and out. But the way again I look at it is how many seconds of their annual production that I have. For Tesla, it's for example I think it's 2.3 minutes that I own. For TSMC, unfortunately, it's only about 12 seconds, I think. But the reason why I think this way is because, when you look at Tesla, these minutes used to be pumping out EVs that have a certain margin associated with it. But going forward, each year, these minutes will become Optimus bots that Tesla will rent out on top of the EVs, the FSD subscriptions. And so as long as that thesis is holding, I'm more than happy to think of these investments as owning a slice of the business. And as long as that growth trajectory and the product is going to generate additional earnings growth, I'm happy to keep them.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are any other investors in NVIDIA in the space, please request to speak and share your take of where do you think that stock is going next? How you feel about your investment? When did you go in? What were the reasons? What are the fundamental metrics you're watching? I would appreciate that. All right. We have Cybertruck guy in the audience if he wants to come up and talk about his Cybertruck ownership. Give us an overview of the puts and takes. I think that would be great. If not, let's go to one of my posts here. I pinned at the top of our screens. China's insurance registration data has shown surprising strength in recent weeks. Yoda, do you expect this strength to continue in Q3?
Yeah, I think this relates back to the Troy comment you made. I think Troy was surprised at the last week's China numbers. And I think he'll continue to be surprised with the next this final week's number. The numbers out of China will continue to rise. I think they are officially over the hump of the ramp up of Highland. And so now the Osborne effect of those people holding on, waiting for Highland, that should stabilize. And so the numbers should really resume. I think Q2 obviously will be down year over year, but improve sequentially quarter over quarter. And I think Q3 will be the first quarter whereby we might see getting back into parity, and then Q4 beating year over year last Q4.
I will make a bet with you if you want. I'll take the other side of that.
Yeah, write it up.
Okay. While I write it up, and I'll say one thing real quick why I believe so is because I think China economy is getting hurt quite a bit. And I recommend people listen to the Nike earnings call. And I share my notes with Valley patrons in an article just before the space started. Okay, Cybertruck guy. I'm going to pin your thread at the top. Would you be able to share your takes, please?
I might have missed that. What's going on?
How are you liking your Cybertruck?
Oh my goodness. It is a joy. It is a very simple joy. I've got a massive smile on my face right now just saying that. It's a dream come true, honestly. I mean, it's 5 years, 5 freaking years in the making here, since they unveiled it in 2019, and I put in that reservation. I was a broke college kid at the time, just dreaming a little bit, and that day is finally here. And I've been most shocked at just the people who are also interested in the truck locally to where I am. Last night we took it basically straight from the service center out beach, and we parked it for the beach, watched the sunset, and no sooner did we get out of the truck and we had a crowd around us, and everyone's just curious, asking questions, taking pictures. You've probably seen that from every YouTuber and truck owner in existence at this point, but just to experience that myself was unbelievable. The whole experience has been unbelievable.
Is there anything that you don't like about the truck?
Ooh, that's a great question. The steering has been really, really, I would say a learning curve. I don't say I wouldn't say I don't like it necessarily, but the steer by wire is definitely something to be to wrestle with. I'm fighting my entire lifetime of driving cars, hand over hand, trying to turn that wheel to get into a tight parking spot. And that has been quite the learning curve. And also the rear axle steering, the back end very subtly just kind of swings around when you make a corner, and it makes the turning radius much better, but it's that learning curve. We've only put 100 miles in this thing so far. So I'm guessing that once we have 1,000 or 2,000 miles on it, it'll be second nature. But right now it's I'm terrified to back a trailer with this thing at this point.
I got you. Okay. When did you take delivery?
Last night. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet.
Well, congratulations. I'm happy for you. So
Thank you.
I guess, so you took delivery after he said the non-foundation is going to start production in a few weeks here. What kind of made you decide not to wait?
I feel really strongly that the Foundation series isn't that bad of a deal. You get FSD, you get all the accessories, you get the upgraded tires and the wheels and everything that goes along with that. I still thought it was a valid deal, and also I was sick of waiting. I was just genuinely sick of waiting, and so if I can put that extra money down and get all those extra accessories and get FSD and get premium connectivity for life right now versus getting back into line for a non-Foundation series, I thought that was a good deal.
Okay, great. Any questions for him? Please request to speak. What did you drive before?
Ooh, I was driving a Model 3 before this. We had a 2020 Model 3, and that was an excellent car. I loved that thing. And I would have definitely kept it for a lot longer if it weren't for this truck to come around. Before that car, I was driving an old Ford Explorer, and that was a fun time. I don't miss that thing.
Lenny.
Hey, so what are you thinking about doing with the power share? Do you have power walls and everything set up at your house where you could just hook it up, or are you gonna? I think I was in a space with Omar the other day, and he was explaining exactly how everything works. So I believe that you get power share with it, and Tesla has this energy division that if you have what Omar was telling me, if you have the gateway, the only thing you have to add is this the two-way charger. Did you think about doing that?
Yeah, so the truck comes with this power share feature, then they give you a voucher to get all of the hardware in your house. It's the gateway plus the new wall connector. And there are some other stipulations about where you park your truck in relation to where your electrical panel is, your breaker box. And long story short, our house is currently not compatible with power share. We do plan to move the next year or two. Hopefully our next house will have that I guess compatibility. But that's definitely on our list of things to do eventually with this truck. I don't currently have any solar or power walls or anything of that sort. but that is a feature I definitely hope to use in the future.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I was in a space with Omar and Yaman the other week, and he explained everything to me, and it was like, wow, like it was like if you had like a hurricane, like I explained to them, like we had Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast, and it was like everybody was without power for like weeks at a time, and there was like people just coming to other people's house that had a portable generator just to shower, and it was like if you had like solar and power walls, and you had a solar backup and power walls, and then you had the Cybertruck on top of that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an excellent system, and I can't imagine that Tesla will keep that specifically to the Cybertruck. I'd assume that's coming to more vehicles sometime in the future. It's kind of it's more of a matter of the onboard hardware plus the software, of course. There is, I believe, the has to output AC through the charge port, not just DC, and not just take in AC as the charger. But I would imagine that could be a pretty easy paid upgrade for them to do in the future. Whatever amount that is, but I think a lot of people would take that on. I do think the installation cost of that gateway, if you don't already have power walls, is kind of steep too. I've seen it anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 plus the equipment, which of course on the truck is complimentary, is free, I suppose, with the Foundation series anyways. But that, I guess, for a $100,000 truck right now, it's kind of a small price to pay to also have a home backup system. But to each their own.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's just that was my last opinion, but like it was a bi-directional charger, I believe that Omar said, and it was like I think it was like 550 instead of the 400. So
yeah,
it's definitely something to look into.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we even lost power ourselves this past week for about a day. We had a big storm move through. Dropped a branch on our Model Y, of course, and I've got buddies. I think that storm was Tuesday morning. It's Friday afternoon now. I have friends still without power in some parts of our area. So, and I think I've looked at our house's consumption. If we remove all the EV charging, the truck today could power our house for 6 or 7 days in a row at normal usage levels. And of course, if you're gonna be careful with your lights and not run the AC all that much and just keep kind of the essentials running, you can stretch that to 10, 15 days pretty quickly.
Thank you, Nathan.
So the Cybertruck guy, I know you just got your truck, but do you know what the rear wheel steering behavior is when you're backing a trailer into a tight spot? And for the audience, that's an acquired skill. It gets really tricky. You have to turn the steering wheel the opposite direction some of the time. And so this rear wheel steering could really compound the confusion of that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things I'm kind of concerned about. I have not had the opportunity yet. It's been a day to hook up a trailer and actually test out what the functionality is. From what I've seen from other truck owners, I believe it's the same 3-degree steering radius in the rear axle. So I don't think it changes anything. But I wouldn't mind having the options to flip that rear axle steering off to make backing up a little more straightforward. But I guess, yeah, it definitely is an acquired skill. That is for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if there's an option on the touch screen to disable that as needed.
Yeah, I will definitely have to investigate that. I'm guessing next week I'll be doing a little bit of towing for 4th of July.
When did you place your reservation?
My reservation was day one, November 21, 2019. And I think I was invited back in January. It took me a few months to get the financials in place. So yeah, reservation in 2019, and the invite was this earlier this year.
And it's been about 5 years, right, since you placed a reservation. Did you ever think, you know what, maybe I'll cancel and buy this instead?
There was definitely a period where the Rivian R1T looked interesting, and I kind of went back and forth too between the R1T and the R1S. I kind of eventually decided that the truck would be worth the wait, and at the time, what Rivian was charging for the R1T and R1S was just a little too high for my comfort zone at that time, specifically. So, to a certain point, I was almost thinking that waiting would be the best bet. Long story short, I guess.
Can you tell us a little bit? Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that insights. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, maybe elaborate some more around Cybertruck versus R1T/R1S, and the back and forth that you went through?
Yeah, so I think the capability of the R1T really enticed me for a while there, especially towards the beginning, because it was at the time one of the only electric trucks that really could do things. But I also was more interested in the size of the Cybertruck. It was a lot larger vehicle, had the full 6-foot bed, and I mean, but also the R1T was shipping that week. You know, I could have ordered one and had one that month if I wanted to. So that was appealing. But you know, also I went back and forth on the Tesla's whole bet on FSD. Is FSD going to be a massive, I guess, selling point or feature that I can subscribe to or use 4 or 5 years down the road? And you know, this was probably 2021 at this point, 2022, that I was really kicking these ideas around. So pretty early days of the R1T, and also FSD at the time. That was back in the days of the button, if you guys remember that one. But I also ended up deciding that yes, FSD is actually a massive value add and feature that I want to use someday, and I do hope to own this truck for a long time, for quite a while. So that's a big feature to me too.
Would it bother you much if you couldn't add it to the robotaxi network?
I don't think so. I do hope to make money someday on the robotaxi network. I do also plan to put my truck today on Turo for here and there, just to see if I can recoup any of my initial costs from it. So yeah, I would like to, but I don't think it would be the end of the world. I don't think I'd be necessarily disappointed if I couldn't.
Okay, thank you. Lenny?
Oh, I didn't have my hand raised. Sorry.
Okay. Danny?
The people on the Reddit, they say that Cybertruck owners get the bird flipped at a lot. Can you shed light? Like, what's the rate of a bird backflip per mile for you? Can you shed light on that?
Well, I've not had any bird flips yet, but I've had I've had dozens of waves and thumbs ups and peace signs and all of that. So I got to imagine that the bird flipping ratio is pretty low. I think Kyle Connor out of spec had an interesting phrase where, you know, the people who don't like it are very vocal online. But the people who love it are very vocal in person. So you're not going to walk up to someone and say, "Oh man, your truck sucks," but you will walk up and say and compliment it. So that definitely seems to hold true. There's a vocal minority, it seems, online, but not in person.
Thank you. Scott?
Hey, Yaman, how's it going? First of all, it's fun to hear the excitement in your voice. It's putting a smile on my face to hear how excited you are for your truck. Congratulations. And as far as the towing thing goes, I only watch too much YouTube, so I know there's not a button yet. People complain they want to be able to turn that off so that you can back up. But the Fastlane guys, they have some really good towing tests from Colorado, and they have some really good tests over the Ike Eisenhower Tunnel, and some other good local difficult stuff they do with towing. So they would be a good one to go watch if you wanted to know more about what your truck can do. They beat theirs up pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know Dave Sparks has also had a couple videos on towing. I think he did a diesel versus Cybertruck test, and that one was eye opening too.
Yeah, that's all. I'm just excited to hear you excited. It's making my Friday good. I'm almost done. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Lenny.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you're enjoying the Cybertruck too, because the way I heard in the space earlier, it was like only one person in the whole world wasn't enjoying it. But I do have a question. It kind of does have a not FSD full self driving already like engaged, but I was listening to somebody the other day and they were approaching a yellow light that was blinking and it kind of slowed down, and so it has some kind of capability where it could still see lights. So this specific person is driving across the country, and he said that he was approaching a yellow light. It kind of like slowed down, and then green light go. So it could see stuff. The Cybertruck, right?
Yeah. So currently it has basically the same FSD visualizations as all non-FSD Teslas do. So it shows you on the screen all the cars in your vicinity, motorcycles, traffic lights, stop signs, speed limit signs, trash cans. But as far as I've seen, it doesn't actually react to anything. But I could see that the cruise control, the smart cruise control, I forget if that's the technical term for it, but the smart cruise control or adaptive cruise
Speed
control.
adaptive cruise control.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was close. That does take into account different traffic signals here and there, as far as I know. But again,
Yes.
I might have to test that out.
All right. Yeah. Cool. I just wanted to make sure. I heard it from one person, so I had to hear it from another. But that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely hoping that FSD comes soon to the truck and autopilot and all that good stuff. But I know Tesla has priority set on their several million other vehicles, not the 10,000, 11,000 trucks that are only in America right now. So I get it.
When do you think you're going to get it?
I mean, I'm hoping in the next month or so. I know back in May, I think Elon said, "Oh yeah, by sometime next month," and now we're at the end of June. And still nothing. So I would, optimism. The optimist part of me says next month, but who knows?
I think it'll be a Christmas present, not to, it's best to set the expectations low on this. I think 12.5 is the software that's going to bring it to Cybertruck. And, we don't even have 12.4 rolling out to the masses just yet. So I think 12.4, as I've been saying for the last couple of months, 12.4 is more of a Q3 rollout, and then 12.5 is more of a Q4 rollout. So, by Christmas. Uzi.
I'm a little slow, but what's the limit for FSD on the Cybertruck? Why isn't it there? I think
it's not a priority. It's not a priority right now. The fleet size is very small. I mean, we've seen Omar, for example. He has a Model S with FSD, and then he has a Cybertruck without FSD, and he chose to ride the Cybertruck. So the excitement for Cybertruck is still very high. That you don't need FSD to deliver the orders, whereas FSD is kind of acting like a differentiating factor right now for other vehicles. And on top of that, the fleet size for the Cybertruck is very small. It's only a few thousand Cybertrucks, as opposed to the rest of the fleet. We're talking 5, 6, 7 million vehicles that benefit from incremental improvements to FSD every single day. So, it's going to be a while. It's just not a priority. We have training compute. It needs to be allocated accordingly. So, I hope that it's sooner than Q4, but I would set my expectations low on that one. Lance Webb.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I just got a VIN number for my Cybertruck today, and I'm kind of panicking because they said late 2024, and I was planning on paying outright, trying to put something together, and now I'm like, oh no. So am I going to get, if I don't accept it, do I just get booted to the end of the line? Or it sounded like I had like 2 weeks to, come up with the money or finance it. And I was just wondering anybody else's experience or have they heard?
Yeah. So long story short, once you're assigned a VIN, Tesla really wants you to take delivery of that VIN or basically go to the back of the line. Not the total back of the line, but you'll still be invited to take delivery or to place your order whenever you want. There might be a limit to how long that is. I don't know if that's like 6 months, 12 months, but they do kind of keep you in that lottery of sorts and kind of get back to you eventually and say, hey, are you ready yet? When we first got our VIN about a month ago, Tesla said, well, I told Tesla, I don't know if I'm ready because the delivery or the order page said August. And I was in the same boat. I was trying to figure out my finances and get everything, get insurance and all of it, get the proper down payment and everything. And I said, I don't know if I can take delivery by the end of this quarter. And they're like, okay, well, we'll just get you on the next lottery round, I guess, for VINs. And I was like, hey, hold on. I'm going to make this work. Give me a minute. So yeah, they just kind of kicked you to the back of the immediate line, not the order or not the reservation line.
Okay, well that's pretty much what I need to know. I just got passed by a Cybertruck.
Oh, nice.
I thought I'd be all excited, and I just went into sure panic mode. So I gotta figure something out. All right, thank you.
Lance, last time we spoke about your tour of the factory, and I think an outstanding item was if you remember anything that's noteworthy, you were going to bring it up. Did you remember anything that that we missed in our initial conversation?
Not really offhand. No, sorry.
Okay.
No insights.
That's all right. Lenny?
Back to the FSD question. I listen to Meta and a lot of guys that focus on the FSD. It's basically like the camera angles. Cybertruck is such a bigger truck, and the FSD is getting so good that it can project cones. It can basically predict itself. So it's like they have to figure out these like weird angles and whatever else on that front. And I did learn a hack for anybody that is going to get a Tesla. You don't, and it's not every state from what I heard. If you just upload your insurance card of your current vehicle, you don't have to have it for that specific vehicle. So it's not in every state. This is just what I heard. I would suggest trying it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. 5-minute warning. If there are no questions, comments, we can end it early. Lincoln, how are you doing over there? Would you like to play? It's been a while since you played this song. If you're available.
Hey, Yaman. I'm not. I'm at work right now. So.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
But thank you.
Yeah, I miss it. It's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things in this space.
Yaman, there's a lot of things people don't like about you. I think that's the thing they like the least. The fact that you like my singing.
That's all
right. Oh, you were being so nice. Now I feel bad.
All right, we have first-time speaker, Logic.
Hey guys,
you want to talk about your Cyber Beast experience?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. I put a Cybertruck on reservation about 5 years ago, and or 4 years ago, whatever it was, and I got called to go pick up my Cybertruck. They notified me, hey, you're on the list. Here's your VIN number. And I go down to the Tesla dealership to look at a Cybertruck. I didn't know what the delivery date was yet, and I got in a Model X. This is your fault, by the way, Omar. I got in a Model X, and I bought it on site. Didn't even test drive it, nothing. And I was like, okay, cool. I fell in love with the car. Forget the Cybertruck. But you guys were just talking about this. I didn't cancel my reservation. They allowed me to roll it forward till sometime in October. In the meantime, one of my bros bought a Cyber Beast and took delivery of it about 4 weeks ago. And he called me up last week and said, I'm going on vacation. I want to borrow my Cyber Beast for a couple of weeks. So I've been driving this Model X, my first Tesla. I've been driving this Cyber Beast. I got about 1,500 miles now. City driving, highway driving. Thing is fucking amazing. It's amazing. And I think the most unappreciated and misunderstood feature, and the reason I call is because the previous speaker was talking about the steer-by-wire and how it's kind of weird. When I was going to pick up my Model X, my buddy Darren says, like, Mark, I'm warning you, when you start driving this Cyber Beast, you're going to get back in your Model X and hate it. Which that's a bold ass claim. I love my Model X, right? I get in the Cybertruck, it drives so weird.
No cursing.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. This thing is so weird, right? I'm driving, it's a steering. And at some point, like at about the 500-mile mark, driving around in city, I started feeling really good, taking out the highway, felt great. Went home, got in my 2022 Bronco V6 turbocharged Badlands to drive it just because it's been sitting for 4 months. And I don't know how to describe this. The steering wheel feels like, you know, the shaft that goes from the steering wheel down to the rack where the gear is on the rack and pinion. It feels like that shaft's made out of rubber. The steering feels so whacked out in normal cars now. I almost hit a telephone pole going around a corner because I don't understand why no one's making a big deal about the steer-by-wire. It is amazing. I don't know. I want it on everything forever. That's my thoughts. Anyway, I thought it was amazing. If you guys have not experienced the steer-by-wire, you can't judge it in 100 miles. You can't judge it in 500 miles. But once you get the feel of it, it is just, that car's like it's like a Ferrari. It's like I don't think it's a truck. I think it's a hypercar that's affordable for the masses. It's
okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked about the steering wire. We talked about the steering wire in here quite a bit. And I had a chance to drive the Cybertruck as well. And it does make a big difference. And like you said, you can't really tell over a few miles because it seems like a very small thing, but it really adds up as you drive. So good points. I do think every car should have it as well, but you know, it takes a little bit of efforts and initiative. And the Fed, go ahead.
I have a all-wheel drive Cyber. Concur. I mean, after 100 miles or less, you get used to steer-by-wire. I have a 23X, and when I get back into it, it feels ridiculous. If I get into any other car, I feel like I'm turning the wheel like round and round and round. And then on the reservations, I have a separate email account with reservations, and I got a second offer for a Cybertruck May 23rd, and I just checked after hearing a guy speak a couple minutes ago, and I can still order, and it says delivery June to August. So
okay, great. Well, we'll come to the end of the space. Thank you very much, everybody. Happy Friday, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.